How many times have you made a plan and then nothing goes according to plan? Your plans fail and everything just leaves you feeling overwhelmed, so stressed, and really behind on everything you need to get done. That is not a fun feeling, and I've definitely been there myself. I think a lot of us are in this situation now more than ever, given everything that's happened in 2020. But I want to give you today so many incredible tips to help you make sure that your plans don't fail, how to make sure everything goes according to plan. So make sure you stay tuned to the very end of this video, because each and every one of these things is going to help you make sure that your plans don't fail. And of course, they work so much better when you put them all in conjunction with one another. If you are new, big welcome. I'm Amber with Solutions for Simplicity, and you probably know that this channel is about giving you easy ways to live a simpler, more purposeful, and productive life. I help you free up more time for who and what you love through tips on time management, productivity, planning, prioritization, and work-life balance. If you are new, make sure and subscribe down below for new videos every week, and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Okay, first and foremost, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make a realistic plan. This is something that takes a bit of practice, but we all have this tendency to vastly overestimate the amount of stuff we're going to be able to get done. I talked about this last week in my biggest planning mistakes video, so make sure and check that out for so much other advice. But again, it's really critical that we're not biting off more than we can chew. Otherwise, we are inevitably setting our plans up for failure. One of the best ways that we can be more realistic is to be very specific about the kinds of tasks that we are doing, and make sure that we are not doing things that aren't actually important and pushing our own goals forward. The second way to make sure that your plans don't fail is to build in accountability. We need to have checkpoints and ways that we are both holding ourselves accountable, as well as maybe working with an accountability partner that helps keep us on track. There are so many ways that we can do this, and if you haven't already heard of the different kinds of personalities when it comes to how we build habits and stuff like that, I'll link some helpful resources for you in the description below. But typically, many people function the best when they are held accountable by others. You know, a lot of us have a hard time holding our own feet to the fire. So to make sure that our plans don't fail, it's really critical that we at least think through ahead of time how we are going to check in with ourselves and track our progress, what kinds of penalties we might impose on ourselves for failing to meet our plans. And then best of all, it's so great to make sure that we are working with someone, whether this is a coach or a partner or even an app or a tech tool, but something that you check in with to monitor your progress so that you feel like you need to show up to do the work and stick to your plan. That leads right into the third tip for how to make sure your plans don't fail. It is really helpful to set up a reward system that you are working towards before you ever even start trying to tackle your plan. If your brain knows that there is some carrot, some prize waiting at the end of a hard day's work or a series of hard days' work, then you'll be much more likely to stick to your plan. I talked in this other video about the difference between intrinsic or internal and extrinsic or external motivation. And so when you're coming up with your idea for what counts as a reward, it should obviously be something that matters to you, something that you get personal joy and fulfillment out of. But do take note that the internal or intrinsic rewards are in the long term so much more beneficial, because things like learning a new skill or doing something because we get joy from the process, right? Those are so much better than, you know, maybe material or other things that can be more fleeting and temporal or temporary. So consider that as you're putting your reward process in place. Tip number 4 is really more of a mindset hack. So many of us see all these people around us doing all these great things, and that feeds into our unrealistic expectations of what we could or should be able to do. But the reality is that we can't do anywhere near what we think, so we just need to know that things are gonna come up, that life happens, right? There are all these unexpected, unanticipated events that can really throw off even the best laid plans. Being able to build some sort of flexibility into your plans that prevents those kinds of unexpected occurrences from derailing everything you're working towards, that's a skill that you can work on and improve over time. Some of the best ways to do this are to make sure that you are leaving blank space in your plans, right? That you have maybe a catch-up day later in the week in case the things that you planned to do first and foremost don't happen as intended. And then also, it's just so important to give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. You know, it's okay if plans don't always happen right when they need to be done. Sometimes there are things that we can't avoid, and it's always so much more important to take care of ourselves and our family and prioritize our mental and physical health as opposed to just pushing forward on the plan to the detriment of our own health and sanity. So really think about how think ahead about how you would handle unexpected situations. I find it really helpful to go through this thought exercise of what could come up and how you might handle it. For instance, if you're a busy mom like me, I think about, okay, if one of my kids can't go to school, right? What are some ways that I could adapt my plan? Or if I get sick, what's something that I can do to either work ahead now and make sure that I am fully prepared in case I can't work later on? There are just a variety of tactics that you can implement. Again, this is more of a practice makes perfect kind of thing. But overall, just know that life happens. It's okay. It happens to everybody. And this year, again, has made that all the more clear. Tip number 5 is to make sure that you are constantly evaluating how your plans did. Hopefully you have a regular time where you do sit down to plan maybe a week or two at a time, because as I've mentioned in other videos, we don't want to try and plan for too long at once. When you are finished with a prior week, or as you're starting to embark on planning a new week, think back to what worked well in your old plan versus what maybe didn't pan out. And as you collect those observations over time, these are actual data points that you can then use to inform yourself about what kinds of planning strategies are successful for you versus what you might need to adapt in order to help make sure that your new plans don't get thrown off. So much of planning is about evaluating what worked and what didn't. It's about trying new things. It's just about learning how to evolve across different seasons of our life, because so often we might reach these milestones where we think we've got it all figured out and things are going really smoothly, and then we reach a new season of life, something changes, and all of a sudden the old system doesn't work anymore. We've got to be able to adapt and go with the flow a fair amount. So don't hamstring yourself into trying to plan and force everything to be a certain way. Just, again, think of it as a sort of observe and adjust process where you are taking the information you get from the plans that work well and trying to repeat that process over time. It also needs to be said for anyone that is a perfectionist or a bit of a type A control freak personality, and I would put myself here, right, that we can't predict everything. So it's really important that we learn to lower our standards a bit and just know that it's okay if things aren't perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. And I can't say this enough, right? I keep repeating in so many of my videos because I want you to get this message. Our value and self-worth are not at all tied to what we do or don't do. The reason that planning is so important is simply because it helps you live as purposeful and intentional a life as possible. I really just want to urge you to make sure that you separate how you feel about yourself and feel about your life from what you are or are not doing. We've got to be open to new things. We've got to be able to roll with the punches, even when that feels uncomfortable or difficult in the moment. Number 6, to ensure that your plans don't fail, is to not take on new things while you are carrying out your current plan. There are constantly new opportunities or obligations that are vying for our attention, and tons of little distractions that come up along the way. But it is so important that we don't cave to those temptations and that we don't let our time get stolen by things that aren't actually following our plan and contributing to our own success. It is really easy to think that we'll, relax this day or just, adjust our plan in the moment and then catch up later on, but that only sets us up for failure. Make your plan, try and, be as specific and intentional with the plan that you make, but then carry that out and adjust the next time around, add the new things in the next time around, rather than let go of your current plans in favor of taking up the new opportunities as they come. I also want to remind you that it is so important that you get comfortable with saying no to things, especially the things that are asked of you that you don't want to do but might feel, obligated to say yes for. Oftentimes, we don't want to let other people down, or we want to avoid the uncomfortable situation that would happen in the moment if we were to say no. But that just sets our plans up for failure, because then we are trying to do things that aren't actually important to us, and it builds up the bitterness and resentment in our minds that really isn't good for anyone. You've probably heard the saying that if you say yes to everything, then your yeses actually mean nothing, because if we don't have that contrast between a clear yes or a clear no, then we're just in this muddy middle and it's not helping anybody. So get really comfortable with saying no to things that aren't moving you and your goals forward. For so much more planning advice, I will link some extra resources for you in the description, including my ultimate guide to planning to ensure everything goes according to plan. This is an invaluable ebook that walks you through a scientifically proven process for scheduling things in a way that makes sure that everything gets done and that you don't lose your sanity in the process. This has been such a game-changing method for many people, so be sure and read what others have said about it and leave any questions you have for me in the chat. And now jump straight into these other videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you back next Thursday with another video. Give this one a thumbs up. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.